Welcome back in, guys. Here we are, the final match of the group stages. We have Elevate versus Final Chapter here.
Yep.
I am super excited to be able to see these matches. Fawn the Legend once again back with my good buddy Kresnik to be able to break over this last game of the group stages before we head right into the double elimination bracket.
And this is the matchup I think I've been the most looking forward to, because I feel like both these teams, obviously tiny changes coming from pre-LAN qualifiers to post-LAN qualifiers, and I feel like we're going to get a competitive game. Both of them, I think, had their moments of brilliance against Public Hamsters in the last two sets that we got to see. We'll see what maps they're going to here in the series layout of this final set of the group stages that we are going to get to watch here. We're back to Breach. Breach demo. This might be a common thing today, if all the teams seem to like it, but we're seeing Factory for the first time today in the King of the Hill spot, and we're ending things off on Windward.
Yeah, potentially if this goes to a game 3, we will be going to Demolition Windward, but Breach is how we're starting it off. Demo, obviously. Factory will be the King of the Hill. Once again, another very premier map that we see with this game mode, almost synonymous. Factory and King of the Hill really do. We see this very often if you talk about the previous qualifiers or the previous 10Ks that we have looked at, but that's neither here nor there. Breach is where we're starting things off on. Elevate seemed to look a little bit better towards the latter half of Breach. They did an extremely good job of making sure that they sort of shook things up, made sure they kept things in the mind, mentality, adaptability, all of those things, just keeping a lot of those functions and those concepts in their brain, and really were able to make it sort of fight back. Now, granted, the match still ended 8-3, but that's still something it is that they have to keep in mind coming into this set, right? Obviously, don't let it end the same way.
And interestingly, even though they were able to get a couple rounds against Public Hamster and actually look fairly solid, this was the choice of Final Chapter. I'm being as the qualifier, I'm going to assume, I believe they are the lowest seed in the group, so they got the first demo pick of the map of the set. That would be Breach. Windward being the choice of Elevate. So they wanted to go to Windward after that King of the Hill game. Obviously, very different maps when you look at it in King of the Hill and Demolition, but they still wanted to go in that direction. Factory, of course, just the lesser of 5 evils. The last map remaining after the full veto for these teams. So Factory, I mean, I think that's a map that I feel like people have been discussing kind of spawn side on a lot. That could be interesting to see what side they start on and if that gives them an edge at all. But Breach, the more important thing to consider here, where things are going to be getting started. We have obviously seen Elevate on Breach earlier today. They had a shaky start, again, kind of not struggling to deal with some of the very strong map control that we were seeing from Public Hamsters, and that same aggression and map control really hurt Final Chapter in the second set. So both these teams having kind of been the victims of it, I want to see how they take that with them, right? They've both seen how Public Hamster want to play this map. They've seen how to play it successfully. What team will execute that better, and what team will get the maybe preferred side second, so you can take that into overtime if it goes that far.
Yeah, definitely something that you have to keep in mind. Once again, Elevate versus Final Chapter here. For those of you that are tuning in, this is the final match or the final set of the group stages. Fawn the Legend and Kresnik here once again. Now, Breach is one of those maps where I am curious to see how both of these teams have sort of adapted on, because they have not had the chance to play on Breach yet today. Final Chapter have not. Elevate do. And so I wonder if there is a potential advantage that goes into that situation, right? Maybe them having to be able to really accrue and sort of gather together their strategies, really accumulate the knowledge as they were able to gain from Public Hamsters moving into this next set is what's really interesting to me. As once again, the game is taking some time, and once again, like getting set up, everything of the sort. Once again, for those of you that are curious, so
I'm using the glasses reflection trick. It seems like they are in lobby. That's always, anytime someone's wearing glasses in a LAN tournament, I always try to take advantage of that as much as I can there. But this game's super important here. Final game of the group stages. This is going to determine seeding. They've both been equally thrashed by Public Hamster, right? So it comes down to this for who will get that second seed coming out of groups, and who will get that third seed, be able to play against, I believe, the third seed. Since it's a 16 bracket, I'm assuming it's going to be a first round bye, and the other teams will be playing against each other, the 2 and 3. So you want to be playing against the worst team, the third seed team, the worst performing team from the other group. If you win this one, or maybe you have to play against the second seed, maybe a team that was really close to the top and struggled to close out map number 3. It's hard to tell without knowing how the other group has gone. But you will be in a much worse position again if you do not win this game, and both these teams seem equally capable again. We saw them perform. Final Chapter obviously made it here on the back of good performance in qualifiers, Elevate, a mix of players that have been successful in the past and even recently in some cases. So I think you can argue for both teams to be able to win this one. I feel like map 1, I think Elevate has been looking a little bit better on demo from the little bit we were able to see from them. I want to lean their way. But Final Chapter was some of their plays were just hitting different on that respawn in the last set.
Absolutely, yeah. It's definitely something that that they really have been able to sort of shine with, right? It's like, once again, like, these teams are very adaptable. When we're talking about Final Chapter, I mean, like, them, how well they've done in previous qualifiers and in previous 10Ks. Same thing for Elevate, having very common names like IC, like Prosper Logic, Skeppy. I mean, like, once again, like, all of these people really doing a great job of making sure that they are aware of, you know, the meta and the things it is that they really have to do to make sure that they can really provide themselves best case scenario. It seems like for right now that things are really interesting in terms of how the meta can be played and how things can be sort of be shifted. But once again, with the changes to Anvil and Saint, maybe that makes things a little bit more interesting. Maybe that discussion is more open-ended now instead of it being focused on the utility and the mollies that Runway is able to bring. But I am very interested to see how they will adapt to playing on Breach. Once again, this is the first time the Final Chapter I've played on Breach. They Elevate have the little bit of an advantage of knowing that they've already played on this map.
One other thing to actually consider that I hadn't been thinking about until this moment, thinking about the teams that have been successful in the qualifiers recently. Final Chapter played in both qualifiers, right? I mean, in the second qualifier, they managed to win. They managed to get in there only with a small roster change from then to now. Elevate, obviously, I mean, did not have to play in those qualifiers. They were already set up, so maybe that more recent competition actually plays even further into their favor, right? Final Chapter, having been, you know, competing before the holidays as opposed to having a cooldown period and then having the holidays to whatever they were doing for New Year's and Christmas. Now that as we are in a new year, everyone's feeling refreshed, but maybe Final Chapter feeling a little bit more warm. I think they were operating with a little bit more confidence in the end of this set as they were warming up to the land setting.
Yeah, definitely something that is to be taken into consideration here, as it'll be interesting to see how sort of both of these teams really, like, once again, like, land nerves, trying to see what it is that they can actually do here, like, in a more public environment, right? And seeing how well it is. They kept up with Roco Company, how well it is they've been practicing and taking things into consideration, just as you said, after the holidays, how well they're feeling. And in terms of everything, you know, like, it's going to take some time, you know. It's going to take some time for them for everyone to get back into sort of like the land shoes. Sometimes this isn't, for some people, this isn't their first land. You know, it might be the first land with Roco Company, but not necessarily their first land in general. So it will be a situation that sort of like a lot of those more experienced players sort of guiding the new ones in, like keeping everybody headstrong and keeping their head straight when it comes to a lot of these different fights.
Yeah, and I think one thing is, you know, when you stream online, you don't really necessarily have that immediate feedback of people right next to you. Right, you see chat, you know, you do something cool, and then you stop and you look at chat, and you're waiting for the sea of pod champs to start to you know, emerge from the ether. Even with a small crowd like this, of the players close by, and obviously there's a ton of viewers online, as I'm sure they know that, but just having 5 people in the room with you, the admins behind you, even though they're not judging your play, they're still right there staring at your screen for a good amount of the time. Even that is enough to make some people play differently, to play more nervous. You know that every move you're making is being watched, is being critiqued by people that are not faceless, that are not the void of a Twitch stream, you know? It is these people that you can talk to after. They can walk up to you and say, man, you did not play well. Exactly. Yeah, thank you. I didn't. Isn't that great? I've been there before, and I know how it can be. So some players can definitely take it differently. I think we've seen some players kind of stand out. I think Elevate, IC had a fantastic performance in the second map. I believe he had some really good moments on the King of the Hill. I think Story, I cannot ignore from Final Chapter. Some really heroic plays coming out on that King of the Hill as well. So both of them have someone who I think has stood away from the crowd as a strong fragger. How will that transition? How will that translate to a demo map when they might be feeling a little bit nervous here?
Yeah, and once again, it's time, you know, sort of settles in as everything gets worked out. That is going to be something they have to keep in mind, right? The Demolition maps are definitely played a lot differently than King of the Hill. For those of you that have obviously been playing Roco Company, you know that you understand how much of a strategy comes into mind when you're playing on demo. There's a lot more waiting of utility. There's a lot more patience because we're talking about one respawn per round being the case, right? You have your life, live it, and make sure that you do the best it is that you can on a lot of these different maps. So for right now, as things are getting worked out, I will be interested to see like sort of like the picks and sort of the overall flow of how these games and matches will go, because once again we saw sort of things shift into the side of Fixer, right? Like both teams having Fixer at one point in the very first set of the day it is that we watched, and then as time went on things sort of shifted a little bit differently, right? Like we started seeing less of the Fixer, more of the Scorch, more of the Lancer, you know, like depending on how those maps actually went and what ended up happening for each team that made them adapt their strategy, that made them change up their picks and things of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see how a lot of these things are going to end up going, right? It'll be interesting to see how a lot of these teams are going to end up drafting. I imagine we still see the Anvil. The Anvil is, once again, I think a genuine great pick, and especially with the changes that he's received that make him a lot more viable to be picked in a lot of these situations.
I think we'll definitely see Anvil on defense at the very least, from the defending team, you know, just to take that pressure up top without needing to commit to that room, because that is death if you kind of misplay it on that push, as these teams are vying for this trophy as we're keeping up shots of the room. I gotta say, shout outs to the admins in the room who are making sure that things get started as quickly as possible, and are working with the players, of course. This is the fact that they are, you know, available and helpful and are clearly getting things figured out. So shout outs to them for their hard work, as they have already done and will surely continue to do for the next 2 days over the course of the event. But again, having that trophy next to you, you know what you are playing for here, so you're going to pick the best comp possible. So that's why I feel like I doubt some teams are really trying to hide too much here at this point. You know, maybe 1 or 2 crazy strats, but I think you can honestly just veto a map that you're confident on and have a pocket strat on, and just let yourself go to something more standard, something that everyone kind of plays the same thing on, which is what we've been seeing, right? We've seen a lot of very similar compositions, I think, coming out from these different teams when they flip sides, at the very least, right? So one mirror match on comp, but teams are at least playing similar things when they're on the respective sides. Stick to those in the group stages, right? Stick to those. If you feel like you're better than those teams, you should walk away with a win simply off the back of playing those maps.
Right.
And then once you get to bracket, I mean, all bets are off. Let Vice through. We haven't seen Vice in a long time, and we'll have to wait a little bit longer because we're heading right into Breach demo.
And once again, here we go, starting things off on the last group stage match that we will be looking at. We are starting things on a Breach here. Look good, shoot better. That is definitely the motto to take into this next match. This is something that'll be interesting to see. I definitely want to see this draft. I want to see how much of a prioritization this Anvil has had since things have been changed. As we saw a lot earlier, but making sure that, was it the fact that they wanted to see how these Anvil changes had gone through, these Fixer changes had gone through, or do they feel like it is a viable enough pick to end up grabbing? Same thing could be said for the Fixer and Saint. We all know that that's definitely a character that's definitely going to be seeing a lot more playtime. He's just way better.
Even, especially with, you know, Dolly even having fallen off in some cases. So Kestrel banned. We don't really get to see the bans as much for the group stages, so interesting to see at least one of them. Kestrel has been taken out here in Sigrid Hover. No, we're being teased, we're being toyed with, but one important thing, Glitch made it through. Not sure if we will see him used all that much on this map. I feel like you get some more value from some other choices, as you are seeing Anvil, Runway, Saint, and Dallas coming out of Elevate. Nothing locked in yet for Final Chapter. They are keeping something fairly similar, Scorch instead of that Anvil, otherwise everything the same, and a lot of mollies is going to be the name of the game for them, pushing people off of angles and maybe countering that Anvil that they must be expecting to see.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, once again, we're seeing the Scorch here, Scorch, Runway, Dallas, Saint. On the other side, the Anvil, Dallas, Runway, and Saint. That Scorch obviously being traded out for the Anvil on the other side. They feel like it's a good enough pick to try and utilize here. Very, very interesting to be able to see and witness all of that, and I think it'll be even better to see it in game. The Anvil, once again, having those 2 barricades makes it him a more of a threat, and something that you have to keep in mind the more it is you actually watch a lot of these games.
I was trying to lean in, just trying to catch a glimpse of what controllers they were using. He was using what, but no, not long enough to do that. I don't want to get our cameraman behind them. I don't want to make him have to get away with, have to do that one, squeeze back there for now. But we'll see these locks in here as they're getting ready to jump out of the airship. picks have been made, and we are heading right in, it looks like. Elevate will be starting on the defense, as expected, by locking in that anvil. I think it is just very strong for holding the high ground on that A side, an area that has been so contested, and I think crucial for actually locking it down. But doesn't even matter if they lock it down here, because they are heading, Final Chapter is heading right over to B.
It seems like right now that they're at least waiting for the most part. Sort of just holding back, not really going to do too much. As they are slowly making their way in, Prosper was the only one that was on the objective, so now they're going to find their way back onto the site and see if they can actually put the bomb. They do, pretty much uncontested and unwarranted. They are at least going to be able to get the bomb plant down, and there's going to be no issues so far. I wonder how they're going to play this retake. There's 4 of them stacked up with each other, but they haven't really made any way into to play retake yet.
No, I think they're waiting to maybe catch someone, trying to rotate to a better angle, potentially here. Yokes seeing Skeppy on the move up and getting him with an instant. Is he caught in the corner? He is completely caught. Can't even jump out of the way. A perfect lineup. And now looking for someone to try to save him, but maybe mistiming it. Doesn't matter. Overheat so powerful. Trying to get the trade for the runway. They will be able to get the res, it looks like, unless they get pressured a little bit faster than they're expecting. Dallas holding so close with the down on Good Lad. Will get away with being super aggressive. Right onto them here. Icy, the last one standing fairly low and now revealed. Just melee these last players. Doesn't matter. The bomb's going to go off regardless. Icy, no chance to make it all the way back around. And what a start here from Final Chapter.
Yeah, so far, so good. I mean, a very stalwart play at the very beginning, seeing if anyone could, like, see if they can keep pressure, if they were watching for any rotation. Icy sort of started things off. No, sorry, not Icy, Saint TK. See if he could start things off just by waiting and putting pressure on Prosper. Prosper having to give up that early flank, or that early hold that he had on B side, and from from there, the rest was history, right? I mean, they make it on the side, they plant the bomb, they win the round, and now here we are already in round 2.
Yeah, and they're doing a similar attack here, but this time you can see Icy is already over here with Prosper trying to meet them both, and they seem like they think of long flanks going to be coming in, or maybe just hoping that in a very, very late situation that will pay off for them. And look at Saint, no nerves, not a wiggle on that scope here coming in from him. So feeling more confident than before. But great hold, Icy holding really close, finding them with the Semtex, even if they have to trade his own life from that C4. But are they there to protect him? It looks like, yeah, they can actually cover that res. They'll be able to get it. The bomb did not get planted, so a very different attack here. Although it might be a 1-for-1 trade with Story trying to be a little aggressive on the back here. Elevate managing to pick up 2, but 2 of them are still down. They have to go for a res, but their Saint was one of the victims here. But they have the bomb to play. They can just play around that to keep them from from getting the bomb and getting it planted.
So far, manages to find another good shot as well. TK looking great and manages to land the final blow that nets his team the round. Downs all over the place. Once again, smoke clears. You've got Final Chapter that now takes the second round. Moving on to the third here, folks. Starting to pick up the pace a little bit. The first round started off kind of slow, methodical. Prosper backs off of site just to try and see if he can play with the rest of his team. See if they play back, see if they can play for rotation. Really play the bomb timer. This time they made it to B. They planted it down. The fights went by a lot quicker, a lot easier for Final Chapter. Their Elevate are going to be down 2-0 here so far.
I think Elevate had a really good setup and then forced the issue a little bit late. I think the way that they played around it, though, the way that they went and peaked right when that bomb was kind of getting dropped, I feel like they maybe could have done that a little smarter, but we're seeing, some of the first rounds we've even seen on Breach Attack, other than Public Hamster at the end of the game, right, when they were able to really kind of catch up in here. But Saint with a great angle, finding Good Lad a little bit out in the open, not really playing that cover, and Semtex trying to catch the pick, going for the res, and this utility is just hitting true for Chapter.
Good Lad is killed off. And now there's only one member remaining. Icy all the way in the back manages to find a down, but still he's the last man standing here. Or not standing, I guess sitting. Dallas is the last one standing. Prosper has to make his way all the way over. What is he actually doing? Where was he at? He's hiding in that corner. Oh, that's where he was? I had no idea. I was like, wait, where is he? Like, where is he playing? Hey, he manages to get one. That's a little bit of cash in his pocket for this next round. Move
a muscle.
Yeah.
Their vision is based on sight. Do not move whatever you do, but eventually caught out there. I think that the giant, the name tag probably gives him away.
Yeah, probably.
Sitting in that corner, I'm honestly shocked no one saw him right away. If he had gone for the player who was aiming at him earlier, he maybe actually could have turned that around because the one running by had absolutely no idea that he was over there, but no chance there for him. 3 rounds in a row on attack from Final Chapter, a team that I thought would have a disadvantage heading in here purely off the merit of it being a demo, which they were 8-0'd on, but that just might be the public hamster diff as they settle here to go for B into what looks like a stalwart defense.
Oh, he gets lit up almost immediately. Saint swings out a little bit too wide. They break the drone. And now TK has to find some sort of way to get picked up here. Seems like he will. And the smoke will actually make sure and confirm that. But Prosper gets a kill on Spencer. Playing up a little bit too far. This is going to be a down where you won't be able to pick back up because of the fact that drone is already destroyed. Cooks up the molly, tries to toss it out. Knows he's around the corner, but not in the exact location he threw out that molly. They are at least able to get a little bit of something. He kills Good Lad with the C4. They have to back up. Icy is dead. 2v4 right now. Watching for Prosper, swings over and already half HP, pops the stem, and he's facing into 2 different people right now. Make it a little bit more difficult. Skeppy finds another. Skeppy finds 2. Skeppy finds a 3rd, but he doesn't find the 4th. Instead, they find the 4th in the form of the rounds here. That's going to be said and done. Round 5 is on the way. That was so close and very well played by Prosper and Skeppy towards the end.
Yeah, I mean, crazy play by Skeppy as that round got a little bit closer here, and I feel like I have to make note of it. The Saint elevator.
Yes.
Good Lad. He is going down first. A lot. I've seen 2 rounds in a row where he was the first one to go down, and why even pick Saint? If he's going to go down first, I mean, you need that res. You really want that res, even though it was denied from Final Chapter in that round. They were still able to. They forced them to shoot the drone instead of shooting the downed player. That kind of gave them a second to get away. And then they were able to get both of their reses. They had 2 people go down, and then they got both reses immediately after, so it still paid off for them. And Icy, now caught out early, will likely be able to be resed, but no one else is here, actually. Everyone pretty far back, but hey, Saint Drone comes into effect. Icy able to rotate out, but they can't stop the plant. No one committed really hard enough here, and now all of Elevate here for post-plant, but they have to walk through a wall of utility.
Yeah, right now they're not going to be able to quite find that early pick. Instead, they plant the bomb out wide, so that way they can't quite find an easy defuse for them. Prosper jumps over and gets melted right over the wall into the fire. Gets another shot. TK finds good damage. Try to see if he can find the next one. Not going to find it there. Instead, it's going to be a bunch of whiffed bullets. The util from the smoke will be enough, though, spraying through it and keeping the pressure on. A great flank from Story is going to write 1 chapter available to them in the form of a round. That's 5-0 so far on the side of the blue team. Is that the free one that's available on Amazon from the ebook, or is it one you got to pay for? Well, evidently they paid for it in the form of a round, so I guess so. Four lives in response for that second chapter. They have already paid the price for that one. I mean, what a fantastically played round, I think, by Final Chapter. Obviously, you know, Saint pops off. Saint gets 2. All right, great. Saint downs 1. They have to play for the res, but they're stuck, and they all end up clumped in that one area, and the one person that breaks through is Prosper, and I'm pretty sure he just got baited. Yeah. I mean, he jumped over the wall, looking to the one angle that his team needed covered. He dies instantly, and then we cut back to someone else's POV, and there's 3 people sitting in a corner. I think he kind of got baited there, and they're just going to keep going B. Why not? It's working. They clearly don't have the answer for it as they get these smokes kind of burnt in the APSs. They have all these incense here. They're using all these APSs, but everyone's looking the same way. Once again, caught out from the side. Yokes with the overheat popped. Gonna get aggressive. Gonna be able to find Good Lad and deny that res from them, even as Icy takes him out. But immediately they all get caught. The utility killed so many. It didn't kill so many. It killed all of them. Everyone that had pushed through that smoke was either met with a Simtex or a C4, and now Elevate take the round. How does that happen? They wanted to collapse. I think they thought every member was there because they saw so many people looking away, but they go to strike. They go to actually kind of, you know, tighten up the pressure that they have, and then suddenly they're all in the same place. And they're not looking at the big glowing death bomb that has ended up right beneath their feet. So just well played by Icy, knowing that I'm not going to pick up Good Lad. I'm going to use I'm going to, you know, kamikaze Good Lad in the middle of their team and manage to get basically everyone from that. So really heads up from Icy, I think. Again, now the only person keeping them in from that round. I think the real turnaround hero of that one here is Saint, set up to deny flanks, but ain't no one flanking on Elevate. They are all standing in front.
They have not gone for that play at all since this map began.
Dallas snapping his fingers, only to find no one is what gets revealed to him. They have that info, and so now they will probably play around the rotation to see if they can make it back onto B side. One of them is covering mid. He's fighting into so many different people, and it's not a good idea. Prosper gets brought down. Same thing can be said for IC.
Wow.
2 kills already afforded to final chapter here. And 2 members remaining on the side of Elevate. A deep placement from Dallas right here as well. Means the rotation's hard. Skeppy messes up the roll. Finds himself stuck between some bullets in a hard place and can't quite make it out. The drone is at least able to pick him up, but can't find the pick-me-up needed for that round. 6-1 is how this will conclude.
Yeah, losing IC and Prosper immediately is worst case scenario.
Yes.
I mean, they have been the 2 best players for for Elevate, I think, by far so far in this one. And Skeppy is really set on this. I am starting to think Skeppy might only play Anvil.
Yeah.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he played Anvil on every map so far.
Yes, every time we have seen him on the screen, he has been playing Anvil. Yes.
I'm not going to fall for story, by the way. I know you might have said something. I'm not falling for it. Not this time. Not at LAN. I will not. I will not be swindled at LAN with the Dima hover. It'll have to be a Dima lock, and I hear the time ticking down, so it might actually be. But he's probably going to switch back again. I'm not going to be fooled, and this time I won't be fooled because we are seeing Dima pulled in. I guess if he tries to put down 2 shields on somewhere on the attack. Throw some nades at it, blow him up. They got to be feeling confident, I think, if they're locking him in. Yeah,
there's not really much that Anvil can do in a situation like that. What's the best way to deal with a shield of any sort is verticality. Have a way to go around it, right? You toss out the Merv launcher, and now you got to deal with several little bitty grenades going right over that barricade and forcing you out of the one spot that you might feel safe. So Skeppy locking in the Anvil once again. Will this be what they need? Is a little bit of a side switch. This is how, now mind you, this is how it ended with Public Hamsters last time. It was 6-1.
It actually is, yeah.
And then Elevate ended up making this turnaround. And here they are. Look at them, bamboozled. All of them on B side, only one of them, all of them on A side, only one of them on B. They toss out the smokes and they have to back up and afford that space. They found good damage, but it won't be for long. They get that bomb planted down in no time, I'm sure. Or
there in no time, I'm sure.
Okay. I said I'm sure because I thought I was positive, but looks like I'm just mostly negative in terms of how this has been. They actually took so much time. I'm surprised they didn't die for that.
And the Merv actually doing a good amount of damage to Skeppy. 90 HP taken down from him. Insane is able to push that. They're pushing up top. The players in the back have the crossfire, but they're not going to be able to find them. Skeppy getting rezzed in front of them right now, but still caught out on the attempt there as trying to push that. Good Lad does find one finish off Spencer. It's 2-3 versus 1 now with only one attacker left. Good Lad has to stay alive, but just cannot beat out Story. Dima just too good. As I'll get this defused now, and this time will will it into existence as this round is over.
Dust your hands off. That's round 8 in the books. They will get the defuse here. That's going to conclude things at a 7-1 for this round. Will they find the final point, or will Elevate make their way back up? It'll be a slow climb, but a climb nevertheless, no matter how it is you look at it. 12 assists from ISU, their briefcase, that util, everything falling into place there. I thought they were going to be able to get the bomb down a little bit earlier once again. I mean, like, they had pushed on the site. Maybe they have that bomb down. Maybe those few seconds would have mattered. That's neither here nor there.
Maybe they were clearing... No, I was pissed. I was going to say maybe they were clearing all the claymores that Saint's been putting down since the start of the game, but clearly not. I mean, it was the first round of the half. There's no way that any of those are really going to be there, and I doubt he would buy that over the other options here, especially because Runway can get a lot of cash stashed up pretty quickly, courtesy of all the assists you get from the briefcase when you win rounds like that. Yoke's spotted out immediately. They know someone's up top, and they're going to try and take it here. It's only the Dallas close. Spencer is half, but the inside will slow him down.
Oh, but I can't say the same for that C4. Simtex gets tossed out and catches 2 around the corner. Molly just to prevent them from jumping in. They are going to find the remaining kills. That's going to be an 8-1 is how we finish this off for this first game of the last group stage match.
And what an ending it was. I mean, what looked like it could be promising, they got some early damage, they got it down, suddenly all these people that are grouped up. It's why holding that high ground area is so important, because there's kind of only one way to take it. right? You have to climb up that hill, or I guess, you know, take mid and then wrap all the way around, but that takes a lot longer. If you want a fast hit, you have to approach from that direction. Saint, so smart, holding forward, knows how to counter that, had the lineup for them already, and continued to be the hero that they had that game. I think Saint was a massive difference maker.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that is definitely the story to be able to tell here, right? I mean, I think that Saint TK did an amazing job, as well as the character, obviously, making sure you have that drone. But with that being the case, I don't think it really even mattered that much. The more it is that I think about it, the Saint pick, that is, because a lot of times we saw that those pickups were great in the long run. A lot of those fights that were taken from like halfway across the map, and sometimes you gotta play that. That's the game you have to play. Here's where everything got confusing. Rolls to the Simtex, the C4 manages to get another. That's the react. Yeah. That's the same reaction that I would have. They tossed out the Simtex though towards the last round, round 9 here. And that actually, wait, whoa! That completely.
He swapped that sniper. I'm pretty sure no scoped him, and then swapped right back in the middle of that fight. So that is a player who was feeling good. I mean, you can't do that here. You can't show up. I guess it's group stages. Try whatever you want. You're up 7-1, but you can't do that to them. They're trying to enjoy themselves here in Atlanta, trying to have a good time. And clearly, they don't seem like they're having a good time so far in these sets. But still, one more map that they have a chance to turn around. I mean, I say one more just because of how things have been looking for Elevate. They absolutely have a chance to do it. The final chapter looked solid on King of the Hill before. I just don't. I mean, they might be different on Factory. It could just be a completely different map for them. Maybe Windward is just their B&B for that, but that might not be the case. This Factory might just be a continued strength for them.
Yeah, 8-1 is how we end this very first game, and now we're heading into a respawn game mode. I'm glad you mentioned the fact about how consistent things seem to be for Final Chapter on King of the Hill, because that's where we saw them put up the most work, right?
Yes.
That's where we saw them really turn things around. I mean, we're talking about a situation where they almost clutched a score of 148-90, right? Holding on to that very, very last hill and ending it like 125, like you're right.
Even more than that, yeah.
You're right, yeah. Like having like holding on to it for that long and keeping it so consistently, that makes things so much more interesting coming into this next match, because it makes things unique, it makes things different, because it's something you have to take into consideration, especially when you're heading onto Factory. This can be very polarizing. I think this is like one of possibly the most polarizing King of the Hill maps is that you see. Because what do you mean by that? What I mean is the fact of,
I could have asked you that.
You could
what
have.
Do you mean? What do you mean by that, Fun?
Thank you, and I appreciate that. Here's what I mean by that. The polarization of this map, depending on what objective it is that you're looking at, this map is very, very close quarters. Like, it's very in your face. I'm glad they're hovering the map, because this is a character as we've seen consistently brought out on this map. This is so good to be able to see on the first land. The first pick, the first map pick of group stages, right? The first map pick of land. It will be something really interesting to see, because of the fact of the polarization of these objectives. Because you win a lot of these objectives first, it is so hard to make it back onto that objective.
Yes.
Like, playing retake has been one of the single most hardest things that we've seen them try and do. Anytime. We're talking about 10Ks, we're talking about qualifiers. That has been something that's been really, really dangerous to try and witness, right? These retakes are super, super hard to try and play. It's just not that easy to be able to do that. And so with that being the case, something that is that you have to keep in mind, obviously, you have to play the best it is that you can, or at least around a lot of these different characters, right? I mean, like, that's what you gotta do. And Mac does that so well of locking down the site especially.
I also just want to make note.
You're with me.
Skeppy Anvil.
Note made. Yes.
Once again, I'm
right.
just going to let you know, like, he is still committed to this rogue. So we'll see if it pays off for them. I know we were kind of talking it up, but it really, I think it is situational still from area to area. I don't know how it's going to fare here. I think the Mac Dahlia is a much more potent combination.
Yes.
I think the last time we casted 10K, it was whatever team picked Mac Dahlia just won.
Right. And that's definitely something that we saw a lot more consistently. Yoke's Story, both of them get killed on the first mid, and this is exactly what we're talking about, right? It's going to be so hard for them to make it back, because look at where they have to run from, right? I mean, they make it all the way back. They make it their spawn. They end up swapping spawns out of that. She worked Prosper finds two. Spencer, Yokes, both go down. And now we're talking about a situation where you toss up the C4. See if you can find anything around the core. Not going to find it there. Instead, the next objective, the thought in everybody's mind is, what is this next point going to look like?
Feeling like it's going to look like Elevate's, just the way that they had it held. They had one player kind of holding the middle ground. It was Icy. But Elevate have been looking solid here so far. The garbage time mostly goes in the way of Final Chapter. They have several players here to set up here, playing on that wall angle, but the incense will make that very difficult. Yoke's trying to cross here, just needs to get a down to get that armor, but not able to get it in. It's a 1-for-1 so far, and now Final Chapter taking the advantage out once again.
Prosper still playing close by, and at least Icy is able to contest things for a little bit longer. They get 2 kills, Prosper and Icy together with their powers combined. You have a pretty much confirmed hill for the most part. 45 seconds on the clock. They still got time to be able to play this retake, but this is what I mean. It's polarizing. Like, it's so hard. Even on flank, it's so hard to try to see if you can play this retake. Look at this. Like, it's whoever has or wins these hills, it shouldn't be free for the next team to be able to take these back. It's so difficult how this map is created.
Yeah, it can be very tough, I think, especially into the comp they have. That Anvil does have some staying power here, obviously, but the Magdalia really struggling to break in. Although well, Summit 1G. It's not his own molly, so I can't say that here this time, but watch them play up top. Yoke's trying to make it in. I mean, this is just an Icy diff so far, right? I mean, I feel like Icy has gotten, I mean, I think it's been solid play from the rest of Elevate, but Icy has been getting 2Ks almost every offense that they've attempted to do. This Lancer has been just destroying them so far here as Yoke tries to push, gets turned halfway. There's Icy pushing on Dispensive, finally stopped by Saint, but again, they know where he is. He's trying to find a way and cannot do it. Story can't make the flank work either. Yeah,
it's just not like a great opportunity, you know. They lock down the side, the barricade is up. Now they can't make it past it. Now that you literally have to play around this barricade. Look at the player, ring around the Rosie, jumps in and manages to at least find some good damage. Finds the kill even. Much, much better look for Elevate here on King of the Hill map on Factory. Now we're talking about 106, a huge point differential between the two teams right now.
It's got to be up. There it is.
Oh, there's the second one.
Oh, actually, almost a really well-timed utility there. Catching was like, all right, he's got 2 shields now. He's got nowhere to run, but Skeppy does manage to narrowly stay alive, but not long enough. Getting held down for too long. Story and Spencer run in, clear out the hill, but there's only 18 seconds left and counting. The D hill is where everything's going to happen from here, but we have seen some massive comebacks happen in the final hill of Factory before.
Absolutely, and off of the back of what? Mac. Like, we've seen Mac do so well, especially on this last hill, because of the angles you have to play into. It really does force people to leap, to clear out the area. And that's something that we're seeing right now. As they now made their way onto the objective, it looks like Final Chapter looking way better on this first initial push here. Mac making his way onto the objective, just trying to see if they can make things a little bit easier on the push here, fighting back. Good lag. They're so low, but they don't find the kill. Skeppy comes around, manages to find another. TK gets killed 2. I expected 1, but not 2. Make that a 3rd. Spencer, last man standing on the objective, not gonna find the fight to win there. Instead, he's gonna get brought down to size, but 116 to 65. You still got a good chance. You just got to be able to make sure you find another touch. Skeppy gets brought low. Good ladder flow 2. Skeppy, he finds 2 on the side of Final Chapter right there. They've made their way onto the objective. Now, here's where it gets tricky. They managed to get 1 kill, see if they can find the damage, or at least the kill on IC, getting lots of damage onto the Dallas. The thing is that they're all getting brought so low, but none of them are really confirming enough to find that lead.
Also, everyone's just throwing bodies at the point, and because Elevate, all they know is they just have to control it at the end here. Icy going out, that's a huge pick. But everyone's throwing their bodies on, they're trying to contest it, they're trying to keep cap from happening. There's only 3 seconds, someone has to make it on, and who's it going to be? Are they all just going to sit there and wait? They try to go in, but...
Oh, bad timing.
I mean, there was 2 people right there. They could have gone, but they said, all right, our Lancers got it. He's like, I got it, I got it, I got it.
I don't got it.
I don't got it, guys. Uh-oh. And that's going to set them back here. Going to be tough. Skeppy really showing up here, though. I was worried about the Anvil. I did not necessarily know if it was going to be successful, but 4th time's the charm, I guess, here with the Anvil. Skeppy has been very solid so far, but they've also held the objective for most of the time. It's where Anvil should thrive.
And that's something that we'll have to see if that same sort of point of interest is going to carry over into this round. To round 2 of this King of the Hill match. They are going to at least have the advantage of knowing that they'll be on the objective first. Now it's about playing this retake. This is why it's difficult to play retake against Mac. Because of this. He has the APS, he's already locked down the side. Skeppy gets the down, and Prosper is the one that finishes him off. Good Lad does get killed, but Saint dies once again. You gotta be careful with that flash. He's gonna be immune to it, but even still, not gonna find the kills that he needs. They just end up crossfiring him. And they are gonna at least be able to find that kill. 19-20 to nothing right now. As more and more time passes by, Elevate are not looking great so far.
Yeah, a great start here from Final Chapters. They try to push right over the C4, but Skeppy again continuing to be a thorn in their side right through mid. Go for another fight. I'm not sure if the cache was blocking their view here, but it's a quick first hill. 41. They're gonna get what, 49 from this? So a huge advantage early to Final Chapter, but they will not have this next hill immediately. A lot of information given up to them. Good Lad deals them with the newly buffed arrow. The Elmer update. Very close by. They have the contest going. Only 2 ticks given away, and now actually they're forced to disengage. So continuing to count things up. They do find one with the bounce nade as they play behind the utility. Now is the time to push. They have the number advantage. Story can't get them all, and he only gets one. It's just Saint holding on, anchoring off the site, but has to stay alive. I don't think he can give himself away for this, and he does narrowly manage to get out for now for the next fight.
Yeah, the rest of the team pretty much just holds each other's backs. They're playing a lot into their numbers and make sure they're trading properly. They are going to be able to flood onto site here on the side of Final Chapter. Only 15 points were garnered towards the side of Elevate.
Still moving
with
30 seconds.
Even 60 right now being put on the side of Final Chapter. Looking great, and with an early kill on Prosper like that before the point even spawns. Also, why was he there specifically as well? Like, if it felt like he was up a little bit too far, a little bit too soon, not gonna find anything that's worth its while. Yeah, Icy is gonna get killed, taken out of the fray here.
Day 3. They still don't realize I'm not on their team. I've given to Scrounging scraps in the back line here as Prosper. Apparently the long con works out. He finds 2 on that respawn there. I was gonna say before Prosper did that weird positioning, I feel like having the anvil is so good when you have it, but as soon as you give it up, now you have a Mac with an anvil.
Right, yeah.
Holding the objective, right? I feel like you almost want to break it if you feel like you're about to lose that point, just so you can try to maintain that here. As now aggressively contested, they flood over and almost managed to take down Good Lad here as well. Good Lad's positioning is so crucial, has to stay alive, but Crossfire defense 2 for Good Lad. They both give themselves up as they try to fight into Saint. He is stuck, but can't make it in to take him down with them. So continuing the comeback from Elevate. They've just passed the 50% of Final Chapter's score line. Good Lad will stay anchoring, and they're going to set up Skeppy for an aggressive hold in mid.
And right now, it seems like they're still trying to hold on to what side advantage it is they have. They toss up the Molly once again. So trying to swing this corner, pushes through his own Malu, catches him off guard. Once again, right, I agree. Definitely a smart play on the side of the Dallas, catching him off guard to make sure that he's always on his toes. Molly gets popped out, Anvil swings around the corner. Skeppy finds another. And this is going to be a good enough site to pretty much set up on, right? Like, this is like best case scenario.
Yeah, he's in a good spot there here ahead of time. They were still winning the previous hill, so no worries about that. And they killed 2 of the players rotating it. Mac finally comes in, but loses. Even with the extra health here, Skeppy is going to be forced out of his shield, 10 HP, but no one really there to punish him. Can just lay down these APSs, play in a slightly off position, and just wait for his next shield to come up here. Even with Prosper watching this flank as well, so they have a lot of different angles covered. Everyone stuck in front as they need to fight through all these APSs that are down in the way. He's going to try to use the shield, but they get caught out on the way in by Icy and now Good Lad.
Icy gets the nade tossed out and manages to get the kill. Good Lad finds another, but they're still trading kills on the side of Final Chapter. They have to make their way in. They're playing around the Mac explosion. Not going to be able to quite win that fight. Good Lad ends up losing out to that one. Flash gets popped. Doesn't matter if it found anyone. All that matters is that Final Chapter are in control over this objective. As the time is slowly winding down on the clock, we're talking about 25 seconds is all that Elevate have to make a play.
Wow, Yoke's actually staying alive there, but not actually able to do too much more. Just distracting for Story, but Skeppy has his head in his shoulders, spins around, catches him, and Spence's timing maybe a little bit off here. It's just down to Saint now holding on. Last one on as the time is racking up. Skeppy just doesn't feel confident enough to push it, forced to go there. But caught out. Great peek, and I don't know if they'll make it.
I don't think they will be able to either. Skeppy was literally their last chance, their last bastion of hope to make sure that they had that retouch, and they aren't able to get it purely because of the fact of a well-timed peek from the Mac that is going to be a tie at 1-1 here. Who will be the one that takes this for the group play? We're talking about a potential set point for final chapter, or we're taking us to a game 3 if you're on Elevate side.
Look at that parity on the side of Elevate.
Yeah.
You got 3 18s and 1 12, and meanwhile it's a lot more stacked in the direction of P Story and Saint when you look at final chapter. I mean, 22 for Story and 7 for Spencer. That's a pretty big difference between them. I think the Mac may be playing more of a supporting role, but when you have Mac Dahlia, I think you want them to be winning fights and snowballing. That's kind of the whole point of picking those two rogues. They're just not able to do it. And now with Elevate at the advantageous spawn, I think this first fight is going to be so important for them. They get doubled down by the C4.
And Skeppy manages to find 2. Skeppy manages to find another. They clear out the rest of the site with Yokes being the last man standing here. They're going to swing him, and he's going to get 2v1. That is going to be the point of converted, or at least controlled by Elevate there. A very strong hurdle at first from Chapter, but it's not what's going to be the telltale sign here. Prosper's in such a good spot as well. Look at where he was when they ended up swinging by the objective. He's got 2 barricades in odd spots, but they aren't able to literally push past that at all. He's literally stuck in between 2 of them. He has to go all the way around just to try and see if he can find some more percentage for his team.
It's like a little monster in a hedge maze.
Exactly.
I mean, he's like, you'll never get out of my house of tricks as he runs into the 2 shields, but only able to get the 1 as the point gets flipped back here again, and now dominantly back in control. Our final chapter, actually, see how that point flipped. Skeppy managed to make it back over there, but Spencer with that MLX finds to get control of this once again. You can see the flash bomb charging. He wants to take the fight to Saint, but I think he's just afraid to push that flash. He's going to disengage. They're all going to wait close by, ready to go in, and Story taking himself down has got to be the go button.
Yeah, that has to be best case scenario. You know, they're keeping the pressure on, suppressing fire a lot from TK, but still not enough for any of them to try and push in and see if they can confirm that kill on TK's. He actually lives for so long, tries to melee him. Superman punch, not gonna find it there. Instead, the Kryptonite was in the form of the assault rifle there. He is gonna put him down, and 41-22 is the score line here. Final chapter are still holding on to the objective. Spencer swings wide into an LMG and instead gets taken out. That's not going to be a good look. He is thankfully able to get picked back up though.
Yeah, that'll let them kind of stay strong and push into Skeppy, who I think, you know what, I'll say it. I think he's allowed the one-trick anvil now.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow it. I think he's had a fantastic performance on this map so far where I felt like they could struggle, but now things are getting just a little bit tougher. He'll see with a 48-point disadvantage. They gave up the garbage time so they can fight it. Prosper sneaking up with the padded steps, trying to catch him with the ADS, but Story manages to cross, and they might be able to start getting some of this cap time. Skeppy's in behind his shield, 2 APSs, but forced to disengage. They still have the contest up, and he manages to find 1 through it. It's a 2-for-1. Even numbers now. It's all going to come down to Saint. To Skeppy finds him with that picked up Mamba.
And that's going to be thanks to the barricade. That little bit of time that it was able to afford him, he was able to get down both APSs just in the nick of time. They were able to at least throw out a little bit of utility there, but nothing that would have gave them the site because of the APSs that Skeppy had. Of course, he swings out with the rest of his team. He's playing together with Icy, playing around, back and forth, back of sight, back to the middle of sight, around the barricade, just making sure that he's always changing position. They are at least going to be able to take down Skeppy. But now we're about to move into the final objective of this game. This is set point here for final chapter, and they have a pretty good lead, at least a 40-point differential.
And there's already a fight going on over there, and I get that this hill is very good, but I feel like there's a lot of garbage time going the way of final chapter. They're going to be at triple digits when they were at 80. Maybe you can test it. Maybe you're better off, especially if they're committing a lot of people to it. But good lad finding 2. Maybe it pays off. They both have to respawn. Elevate has control of this site, and 60 points are between them and being able to potentially close out this map, but it has to be flawless.
And Icy playing in the back as well, trying to watch for the rotation. They know that he's there, and they're in such a good spot. Saint tries to swing out wide. They force Icy back, and he is brought down to half HP, but Skeppy finds 1, manages to get another as well. Confirms the kill, but so many kills coming up for final chapter here. Skeppy's last man standing on the objective. The Mampa's going to tear him apart, and Icy is going to fall too. That was a very unfortunate timing from him. Swings around the corner, trying to see if he can help out his teammate. Not going to be enough. Now the flash is literally just going to be there just to keep them back from making it onto the objective.
but they've all stacked up going through this one little short angle here, so maybe surprising them, but now they're just getting burnt down on the way in, delaying for the flash block. Skeppy goes in because he's immune, but he just loses the first fight. It's Icy right afterwards, finds one again. Does actually, well, okay. Surprisingly finds two, manages to contest it, but has to deal with even more.
Imagine see if they can get at least a kill here. They do. They take care of Icy. There's no OT. That's going to be the game for Final Chapter, I believe. Prosper manages to get one. Wait a minute. He makes it in, but not in enough time. Final Chapter are going to be able to take that for themselves.
Yeah, and a great comeback by them, honestly. Huge plays by Final Chapter as they managed to get our third 2-0 in a row here. But that one, the most contested, I would say.
Yes.
A constant life from both teams all the way through. But just in the end, I think the way that they positioned Icy with some good moments, but so hot and so cold at different times that I feel like they maybe needed just the consistency. They had great parity across their team, like we mentioned. They were all performing, but they just couldn't keep up with that kind of, hot, the landable factor that they had on Final Chapter.
And I think that's what really came into factor there, right? I mean, like at first it seemed like Elevate were doing so well, but make sure that they held and contested that lead for so long, right? I mean, Skeppy being the Anvil one trick that we now know him to be on land, make sure that he brought out the Anvil as much as possible, but sometimes it just wasn't effective enough. Those barricades being, I honestly think that the barricades played such a bigger role in the respawn game modes than it did during Demolition. It really forced them into so many uncomfortable scenarios on the side of Final Chapter as we head right on into the replays here. So much back and forth from both teams, really, and I do agree. It's definitely the most contested game we've seen so far today, Chris.
Yeah, we can't say this probably too many more times, but one of the most contested games at LAN so far. I think is, without a doubt, there just hasn't been enough LAN for that to not be true yet at this point. We got plenty more coming up for you as we go through a little stretch, relax after that game. We'll see Prosper. Is this his flank and contest here near the end, trying to go in, but this was just a step away. Could have made it in, but just not able to. And they're packing up, getting ready to go. All the players going to set up and find out who their opponents are. I mean, finding out once they find out what the results of the other group were, they're going to have to start preparing for who they're going to actually be going up against and see how they think they're going to fare.
And for those of you obviously tuning in, that was the last match of the group stages. So now we'll be moving into the bracket. Now we're heading into the double elimination bracket. Something that's going to be very, very interesting to witness and see how both of these teams are going to end up playing. Those group stages were for seeding, and now that those are already said and done, we're going to be moving into pretty much I would say like the mainstay of the tournament, honestly, because this is where it really matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's mattering all the way through again. I think the seeding will prove very, very important as they go through. So both teams had to give their all. I think Elevate did. Unfortunately, just not on the better end. So they will be playing against, I believe, the second seed from the other group. That happened simultaneously. So we're going to find that out a little bit later, as they will shortly if they're packing up. I'm sure they wanted to get out to find that out as quickly as they could. But again, double elimination bracket. We're moving into best of fives too. So I'm going to pull this out and tell you how the map vetoes change in the second one. I do this more as a note for myself, but in that one, it was 4 vetoes, and then teams would pick 1 demo each. On this one, as we can let these replays run in the background, it's going to be a veto for each team, and then they both will pick a map, the first and third, lower seed picking the first, higher seed picking the third, and then 2 more vetoes after that. So less vetoes, we're going to see some higher preferences for some teams, and the final demo map remaining out of the 7 that we have available today will be the decider. If we get that far, King of the Hill will operate in a very similar way. I think both teams get 1 veto each, and then both teams will pick a King of the Hill map to be 2 and 4, with the lower seed picking 2 and the higher seed picking 4. So the teams that are higher seeded are going to get their maps a little bit later in the set, but I believe they will get side choice, I want to say, on the maps that happen a little bit earlier. So I think it's going to be, if you can get that far in the set, if you are the higher seeded team, if you make it there, you're going to have an advantage near the end, but a team in a contested game that makes it a little bit further, they could be happier with their better maps being first. If they can, get that quick 2-0, get that, mental damage, then maybe once you head into map 3, even if it's not necessarily your pick, might not be one you hate.
Taking into consideration as well that we're moving out of the best of 3 sets and now moving into the best of 5 means that there's more time for teams to be able to adapt. And not only adapt, but also take into consideration, once again, the map picks and how this veto system is going to go forward, what maps they're going to take out of the pool and instead put back into this overall map sort of like compilation that we've seen, really, because we've seen a variety of different maps, but like there's been a lot more consistent ones throughout the group stages today, like Breach being one of those consistent ones. I mean, like
Breach, Windward, Factory.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly. Yes, those have been like pretty much the only 4 that we've actually seen end up getting played today, but a lot of interesting ones that could potentially be picked when you move into a bigger bracket. And then, of course, that's the prize right there, man. That is the Rogue Company Showdown Invitational Champions of 2022 is what I'll be really interested in.
Yeah, we'll see how they can, who will be walking home with that trophy, which again will be tantalizing them the entire time as we see it well lit. Final Chapter doesn't care. They're walking. They're like, it's ours anyway. We're gonna get out of here. We know what we're playing for. We know what we're here for. I think we can take it all the way down there. Final Chapter walking away with the 2nd seed from the group. Obviously, not really able to take down the Public Hamsters, who were looking very strong and I think are absolutely a threat in the bracket in that best of 5 as well. I mean, you look at that clean in a in that BO3, if you're getting 2 maps that easily, it's not so much harder to get a 5th, especially because you're going to be higher up in their priority pool. Like I said, it's 1 less veto before the picking happens. So, you know, they were ending up a Breach. That's after the other team said, we don't want you to play these 2 maps. Yeah. So you got to think, they probably going to be even happier if they can get to other maps, and I hope we get to other maps because I miss Vice. Vice is in the pool. I haven't seen Vice in, I feel like, forever.
Yeah, Vice has definitely not been something that we've been seeing in like the previous 10Ks or in the qualifiers or in the final main showcase that we see, and in a lot of the CMG 10K showdown. So I also want to see that map once again, right? I think it's such a nice, well-designed map. I think it's very fun to play on. And it's definitely like one of my favorites aesthetically to look at for sure. I think it is a wonderful map and something it is that I would love to see once again back into the running and show of the entire matches. Really, I think that'll be interesting to be able to see once again as we stay on the shot for the trophy. I'm curious. What
I do want to draw attention to the little trophies around it. I'm not sure.
That's right. We didn't even talk about it.
Our feed is very high quality, so I actually don't know if you guys can read the text on the trophies. I'm going to be totally real. I'm assuming you can, so you can see the Zone 2022 champions. We'll see some competition for that maybe a little bit later. Someone will be walking home with those trophies, and those can go to everybody. This isn't, this isn't the shared custody trophy kind of thing where everyone will be able to walk away with that. Those look pretty nice too. No matter what you end up winning, you're going to be walking away with something you're pretty happy with. And of course, if you win any of those trophies, the big one at least, a hefty cash prize as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, once again, the main one is what is the most these teams will be playing for, but also seeing those Battle Zone champions, those small little golden trophies are definitely something, a nice trinket to be able to take home with yourself as well. I'll be interested to see what's out there. Yeah, I mean, like, I would definitely be interested to see how those matches will go as well. Once again, as we're slowly funneling into the winner side bracket as well. I'm really interested to see like who everybody's seeded and how we're actually going to see these matches actually played. That's for sure.
Yeah, with the other teams on the other side of the bracket, again, not sure exactly where we'll find. You will find that out probably as we find out a little bit further down the line. But going into this, like, all eyes have to be on Public Hamster because they were the best team that we showed on stream. Right? They were the best team we showed on stream. They were the team with the least shifts coming in here, and I think that has played strongly in their favor so far. I don't necessarily expect. I think that obviously helps them quite a bit because, I mean, it was minor changes on some others, but either way, definitely looking forward to how they look in bracket play up ahead.
Absolutely. All right, guys, that has been the main stage. We're going to go quick to a little bit of a longer break. Make sure you get your snacks, your drinks, anything it is that you want. I definitely will be sure to do that. Both of us will be. Thank you guys for sticking with us throughout the morning. We're heading right into the main show right after this break, guys. Don't go anywhere.